Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Wynna Wong. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. John Lee moves to strengthen communication between lawmakers and the executive. 4 working groups are set up to handle the city's persistent problems. And Boris Johnson is fighting for political survival after 2 senior ministers quit. Hong Kong's new leader has proposed monthly exchange sessions to improve ties between the executive and the legislature. John Lee's suggestion came at his first question and answer session in the Legislative Council. Joanna Ho reports.
John Lee assured lawmakers that he is open to any question. The chief executive had courted controversy earlier after requesting legislatures to confine their questions to 7 topics. In his opening remarks this morning, Lee said he believes LegCo meetings are back on the right track after being paralyzed in previous years. He said the city has entered an era of construction and suggested organizing exchange sessions for officials and lawmakers in a bid to improve the relationships between the executive and the legislature.
I propose that at the antechamber of this council, there will be an exchange session every month. Each time it will be led by a Secretary of Department, SOD, or Deputy Secretary of Department, DSOD, together with 5 or 6 directors of bureau and other officials for exchanges and communication with members at the antechamber.
Lee said he will head the first such exchange and will be accompanied by the Chief Secretary, the Financial Chief, the Justice Minister, their deputies, and the Director of the Chief Executive's Office. He also said directors of bureaus have been ordered to set key performance indicators and submit their targets for specific projects to the CE's office next month. Lee will deliver his first policy address in October and pledged to listen to the opinions of different sectors. But he did not give a timetable for the reopening of borders, saying the Health Bureau is looking into ways to reduce quarantine inconvenience for arrivals. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
The government is setting up 4 working groups to tackle long-running problems. One group has been given 100 days to hand in proposals to boost public housing supply. Chloe Wong reports.
Chief Executive John Lee says 4 working groups, all led by senior officials, will tackle pressing issues, including poverty and housing. One group, headed by Chief Secretary Eric Chan, will focus on tackling intergenerational poverty among socially disadvantaged young students. Chan plans to roll out a 1-year mentorship program for 2,000 primary and secondary school students living in subdivided flats. Each student will be matched with a volunteer mentor, and business groups will be asked to help with funds.
We need to teach them how to achieve a proper goal in life and how to plan their life, and also how to achieve their goal and how to make their dreams one step by step to make their dreams to come true.
Financial Secretary Paul Chan's group will coordinate all land and housing-related departments to improve efficiency.
And that is not just confined to public housing, but also private housing. We will be publishing the forecast of land supply in the coming decade to enhance transparency and also enhance the oversight by the public of the work of the government in this respect.
A group under Deputy Chief Secretary Chuk Wing-hing will focus on solving environmental issues at district level. Chuk aims to beautify the city's landscape, but says he will also look at stemming COVID. The 4th group will oversee public housing building projects and was given 100 days to come up with proposals to boost construction and supply. But its leader, Deputy Financial Secretary Michael Wong, says he will submit a report in 2 months. Chloe Fong, HKIBC.
Civil servants' unions have expressed disappointment and regret with the Executive Council's suggestion that all government staff be given a pay rise of 2.5%. The Hong Kong Senior Government Officers Association criticized the administration for not following the pay trend survey proposal, which it said was reasonable and worked effectively in the past. The Pay Trend Survey Committee suggested a 7.26% raise for senior civil servants, whom the group represents. The association said EXCO's proposal was not backed by any data, analysis, and demoralized civil servants. Police Force Council Representative Lam Chi Wai also expressed discontent after meeting the Civil Service Bureau. Both groups urged the government to reconsider. Meanwhile, MTR employees will get a pay rise of between 1.6% and 5% this year, according to their performance, along with extra bonuses for high achievers. But a railway union says the increase cannot make up for inflation because salaries were frozen for 2 consecutive years.
We expect regret for the pay review 2022, as it's far behind the accumulation of inflation rate for 2 years. We insist we must improve the system, salary system mechanism, and we must work with our management to negotiate what the system is.
Union Chairman Lam Wai Kung said the current pay adjustment mechanism based on staff performance is acceptable, but can be improved. He said some workers who attained a certain level could not get an increase because of quota limits. New COVID cases in Hong Kong have surged to their highest level in almost 3 months. COVID patients admitted to hospitals have also risen. Joanna Ho reports.
Hong Kong has added 2,815 new COVID infections, including 143 imported cases. Health officials noted a rise in COVID hospitalization. They said the number of COVID patients in hospital this afternoon stood at 830, compared with about 400 early last month. Authority Chief Manager Gladys Kwan said officials are beefing up resources at hospitals to cope with growing demand. She said some hospital services, including non-emergency services, may be suspended if the situation worsens.
We'll have an overall observation of the service provision as well as the overall condition of the patients. So now we are in our central command committee for operation to discuss every day.
Kwan said officials will make a collective decision to strike a balance between the needs of patients who contracted the virus and non-COVID patients. Meanwhile, the cluster at the Hong Kong Buddhist Hospital has expanded to 14 cases. 9 patients and 1 staff member are the latest to fall ill. Kwan said the authorities are concerned about virus transmissions within hospitals and will continue to look closely at the situation. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
Macau has ordered the first casino shutdown as the gambling hub struggles to contain its latest COVID wave. The Grand Lisboa Hotel and Casino was sealed off after more than a dozen cases were confirmed there. Over 16 other buildings were also shut down, with people banned from going in or out. Another 146 infections took the city's total to 1,087. Overseas now, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is fighting for his political survival after 2 key ministers resigned. Finance Minister Rishi Sunak and Health Chief Sajid Javid questioned Johnson's integrity and competence after a spate of scandals. Sarah Wong reports.
A political earthquake has rattled Downing Street and Westminster, leaving Boris Johnson's premiership hanging by a thread. Some officials from the ruling Conservative Party government joined Health Minister Sajid Javid and Chancellor Rishi Sunak in resigning. Javid said he could no longer stay in the government in good conscience and accused Johnson of acting against national interest. Sunak, who's seen as a hot favorite to replace Johnson as party leader, insisted that the government should be run properly, competently, and seriously. Their resignations within minutes of each other came after Johnson admitted that he blundered by appointing as deputy chief whip an MP whom the prime minister knew was accused of sexual misconduct.
So I think it was a mistake, and I apologize for it. I think in hindsight it was the wrong thing to do.
That didn't quell the rising discontent within the Tory party, which has grown increasingly distrustful of Johnson for violating COVID restrictions that he himself set. The latest scandal prompted critics to declare the end of Johnson's days in number 10 and fueled opposition talk of a snap election. But Johnson, who rolled out a no-confidence vote last month, reshuffled his cabinet and vowed to stand his ground. Education Secretary Nadhim Zahawi takes over as finance minister, and Steve Barclay is the new health chief. But more resignations are expected, posing the biggest threat in 3 years to Johnson's premiership. Sarah Wong, HKIBC.
In the United States, the death toll in a 4th of July shooting in a Chicago suburb has risen to 7. A man was charged with 7 counts of first-degree murder following the carnage, which also injured 38 people during an Independence Day parade. Police said the 22-year-old suspect had planned the attack for weeks and tried to escape by wearing women's clothes. If convicted, he could be jailed for life without parole. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has been confronted by frustrated flood victims while inspecting relief efforts in the town of Windsor, near Sydney.
I'm not at work today, and I won't be at work for the next couple of days. Yeah. Businesses around us, they won't be at work, and they won't be open for the next couple of days. The cost that is incurred, not only to the government, but to the locals, it's ongoing. This happened 3 months ago, and everyone was talking about fixing the same problem. It's all on the radio, but nothing happens.
Albanese, who took office in May, says his government is committed to protecting the environment and pledged to come up with long-term solutions to prevent floods. More than 85,000 people in Sydney have been warned that they may have to leave their homes as floods hit Australia's largest city for the 3rd time this year. While rains are easing, rivers in the north and west of the city remain at dangerously high levels. The Hong Kong stock market headed south today on worries of a recession in major economies. The fears were aggravated by news of fresh COVID outbreaks on the mainland, raising concern about the pace of an economic recovery. The Hang Seng Index lost 1.2% to close at an almost 2-week low. Banking, oil, and property stocks were among the losers. But Alibaba bucked the trend, rising almost 2% after Wall Street expressed confidence in the e-commerce giant. A look at the markets now. The Hang Seng Index closed down 266 points. In top 10 active stocks, Tencent was down $1.20, Alibaba up $1.80. Wuxi Bio up 65 cents, JD down $10.20. In foreign exchange rates, it's 7.98 to the euro and 9.32 to the British pound. Finally, in foreign markets, the UK FTSE is up 109 points. Finally, the weather. It will be mainly cloudy with showers and some thunderstorms tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 27 and 30 degrees. Sunny intervals on Friday and getting even hotter as we enter the weekend. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. And that's our main news for Wednesday night. Join us for more news at 10:30. I'm Wynna Wong. Good night.